Can I have everyone's attention, please? We are here with our next podcast. This podcast is called Who Closed Last Night, and it's brought to you by Walnut Street Hospitality Group. My name is Stan.
And my name is Zach.
And we are here to hopefully give you some entertainment, share some of our stories with you, let you know when we cried.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
He looked at me when he said that. That kind of pisses me off. But anyway, we're going to get past that, and we're going to get into this podcast. How this works is we kind of break this down into 4 different segments, right? The first one is kind of the question that we're going to explore. You know, what we think that the real life question is. Then we get into the examples, things that we found work, that didn't work, that made us cry, laugh, the good, the bad, the ugly. And finally, what do we come up with?
The takeaway, the lesson, the gem. What we hope to impart on everybody that's following us, listening to this podcast, and really the silver lining that pulled us through the storm and got us there.
Silver linings. We love silver linings. And then we'll finish off with either reading a comment or a question or something from someone who found us
on Instagram at whoclosedlastnight_. Same on TikTok, whoclosedlastnight_. You can follow us on Facebook. That's Who Closed Last Night. Watch us on YouTube. Hopefully you're watching us on YouTube right now. Who Closed Last Night podcast. Leave a comment in the comment section. We'd love to reply to you, feature you on the next podcast. And finally, listen to us on Spotify.
That is how they get a hold of us. And with that, we're going to say, heck yeah.
Winner.
Okay, so with that good stuff, here is the question. And this is one of those fraught with gray areas, right? So the question is it worth it to own your own business, or is it better to work for someone else? What are the benefits and deterrents to owning a business?
That's tough.
So, everybody, so being in our primary businesses are restaurants, and being in the restaurant industry, what does everybody say to you?
Oh, I want to own my own restaurant one day. I want to be like you.
Yeah, how silly. So silly. So we're gonna go to we're just gonna skip to all of it, and we're gonna say the fastest way to make $1 million in the restaurant business is to start with $2 million. That's the lesson for the day.
Ouch! Ouch! That hurts.
That's not really true. But certainly the restaurant industry is fraught with failures. And they're failures for a lot of reasons, but everybody feels like they can own and operate a restaurant because they eat out a lot.
I can feed me. I can feed everybody.
And my aunt told me they like this recipe, so I know other people like my cooking.
Right.
And
it's just not that simple.
It is not that simple.
It's not.
And so, there's the restaurant industry is chock full of chefs that say they want to have their own restaurant, chock full of bar managers that want to have their own bar, right. Chock full of restaurant managers that think that they can do it on their own and don't want to work for someone else. And listen, I agree with all of that, right?
Right.
But there's one thing that everybody misses, and that is got to have the capital to do it.
Whew.
You got to have the capital to not always win and to push you through the tough times. And that's just one of them. So
wait. What you just said is that you might have a successful business and you're making some money, but if you're not being smart with that money, you're not going to make it through the tough times because you didn't plan.
That is, I couldn't have said it any better. And I'm going to give you an example of that, right?
Okay.
So I think that, let's just say your restaurant is profitable. You have this year that's a banner year. And you're like, I'm the big shot now. I got all this cash, got all this money.
Rolling in it.
I'm rolling in it.
Yes, sir.
And depending on how you set up your business entity, if you pay yourself a paycheck, if you take a distribution out of profits, whatever it is, most people don't plan for tax day.
Right.
So,
Oh, no.
So let's just say you have a great year where you make $1 million in profit, and then you submit your taxes, and depending on your tax bracket, all of a sudden you have a $340,000 tax bill, right? And you're looking at
Where do I get that money from?
and certain parts of your body pucker up, and your eyes start to tear a little bit. So there's so much.
Are you still the man?
Well, you
are if you plan.
You are if you planned for it,
Yeah.
or if you have the resources to deal with it.
If you're always ready, you never have to get ready.
Ah, there you go. So I think that's a great statement for business owners, is because you always have to be ready, right? And whatever you
Yes.
make isn't yours. It gets shared with lots of different people, and you got to remember that.
Uncle
Profit,
Sam's going to come knocking.
Oh, and profit is different than cash flow, and cash
There you
flow
go.
is different than profit.
Oh, man.
So those are things that I think everybody needs to learn before they decide to jump into that business ownership. But there are some examples other than just the capital needs. You want to jump into some of the examples of what it's like to own a business versus work for someone else?
For sure. I think having your own business, people think that, oh, I'll set this up, I'll hire people, and I'll let it go, right? They don't realize that you're the last stop on every good, bad, and ugly decision that has to be made. If you want to change something and people aren't following what they need to follow, and you're typically the person that sets them straight, right? You have to have the stomach for that, right? A lot of people don't like confrontation. I find it in managers all the time. I don't want to be the bad guy. They sympathize with the employee, and we all want to sympathize with the employee, right? But we also all go through the same struggles in our lives. It's how we handle it and move forward. And a lot of time, the owner is the last defense to that.
So I think what I took out of that was really the buck stops here.
The buck stops here. Yes.
So I don't know how many of you folks out there in TV land have watched this show called Billions, but it's one of my favorite shows. But long story short, it's about a bunch of billionaires and
With the B?
with a B, yeah, not with an M. And one of the guys who is a huge billionaire decides he's going to run for president. And in one of the final episodes, or what part of the final episodes, he always says the buck stops here until he decided to run for president. And now his saying is, I am the buck. And I think
That's a good slogan.
That's a good slogan,
Yeah.
because it doesn't just stop there. It's all about that, right? You got to make the decision. It comes back to you. You have to deal with the ramifications of the decision. And a lot of times those ramifications are not pleasant or not popular. You got to make the tough decision.
It's a journey, not a destination.
It's a continuous learning journey,
Yes.
right? And what you thought you learned yesterday about being a business owner is not what you're going to practice today, because it's a totally different scenario.
That's right. And how many times have we gone? I mean, just think about technology. If you're talking about marketing, how much has that changed? Every year there's a new platform that takes lead, right? That's another hurdle or pivot you have to do as a operator, a business owner, to keep pushing your restaurant to get the same kind of performance out of it.
Yes. So one of the things that I would say is, if you want to own a business and you work for someone else, what's the best way to become a business owner yourself?
I would just have to tell you that you treat that business like it's your business. You might end up being a partner in that, and then it's symbiotic. You don't even have to train. You just have to nurture that business. You have to take care of it, take care of the people, take care of the guests. Perform.
Yeah.
And be loyal.
Perform and be loyal.
That's a unicorn.
That's the unicorn. But I think exactly what you said is true. Is everybody says, "Oh, I want to own a business," but when they get into an opportunity or a situation where they have the opportunity to build themselves into owning a business, they don't treat it like it's their own. I think a fallacy for a lot of people is every business owner has a lot of money and can afford to lose a lot of money. And that's, America is made up of small businesses.
Yes. And I think you said it in a previous podcast that would you act the same way if you were spending your own money?
Yes.
Right?
And that's a great question because I will tell you, so I've asked that question.
I know. I know firsthand.
And I think people look at it differently. They think that that you have this magic money tree in the backyard, and every day you go out and sweep up some of the dollar bills that fall out of it, and that is not the case.
Where do they have these?
Yeah. Well, so I think they're made in China.
All right. We got to book some travel.
Everything else is made there. Might as well be money trees, right? Yeah. So I think that's one of the other things about owning a business is you have to think about, or if you want to own a business,
right,
you have to think about all those decisions that you have to make that you will have to make differently now that it's your money.
And it's not just one decision. It's like an environment around a situation. Because if you're really good, you're planning for the good direction, the bad direction. What if this happens? And you've got a way to move forward no matter what happens, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
And you, I think the other part of that might not be the same as working for someone else is the persistence.
Yes.
Right. I mean, if you give up, you give up, right? And you lost everything that you put into it.
And that's the point of an entrepreneur. They take all the risk up front.
Yes.
Right. They create this situation where you can now earn some money by partaking in what they have going on.
So perfect segue. So I think when people think about owning a business, they think about strictly themselves. Right?
So far from truth. Right?
So far from the truth. So let's just say you have a business and our businesses and you have 100 employees.
Right.
The responsibility you have is not just to yourself, it's to continuing to provide for those 100 people and the family of those 100 people and anyone else that may be affected by your success or failure.
That's right. And I've just got to say, it was almost 10 years ago where you told me that about our own businesses. And it makes you look at what your purpose every day differently, right? It's not only to, make sure process and systems are functioning and things are being taken care of. It's also about, hey, if I don't do what I signed up to do and hold myself accountable, what are the ramifications for the people on my teams?
That's right.
Do I just cut them loose and leave them to die? And they won't die, right? Everybody will figure it out, but they're counting on you and they put their trust in you as a business owner.
So I think part of being a business owner is that responsibility, kind of like a global responsibility, right? And people don't think about that. They think about how successful they're going to be, and
I'll never have to work again.
Yeah. The real thing is you got to work 10 times harder.
Yes.
For 50 times the amount of reasons.
Right.
Another thing that comes to mind, I think, when people talk about owning a business is freedom. Right.
Wow.
They get to. Their schedule's theirs. They can do what they want to do. I'm a business owner. I'm not going to work today. I'm going to go do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. The freedom to make those choices. And, well, I mean, you own a business. What do you think?
It's a blessing and a curse, right? Because, so let's say I want to sleep in, so I sleep in, right? But was I up to help support and drive my business during maybe the busiest time of the day, right? If you own a restaurant and their primary service is breakfast, right? So you choose to sleep in, but you know you got a new manager here, or you're in a new market over here, right? And how do you know what's going on? How do you know what your guests are they being serviced? Is the food quality? You know, there's so many questions. This podcast could go on forever, but we'll stop it there. But I guess every choice you make as a business owner has ramifications.
So the freedom that people perceive they have is only as free as they're willing to invest their time
Yes.
in their success.
And that's a great word, invest, because I think when we a couple podcasts ago we talked about a leader that's loyal or performer, right? But if you invest time to develop a loyal person to become a loyal performing person, then all of a sudden you might actually have some freedom that you were set out to get when you wanted to become a business owner.
That's right. And the other part of that is, so you got the freedom, you got the responsibility, you have the financial wherewithal to start the business.
Right.
What about the integrity to grow the business?
I mean, I think that if you're really getting, okay, so I'll put it like this. If you got loyal performers on your team, how long will that last if there's not upward mobility for those winners that you've been able to acquire on your team and taking care of you, you've taken care of them. Part of taking care of them is providing growth opportunity for them, right?
Right.
Or else they're going to go on somewhere else to continue being great.
Something you said earlier, and I'm going to go back to that, is along with everything that we talked about, the other part that's yours is the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
So you got to be able to take the good stuff and realize that good is fleeting.
Yes.
And it can go away as quickly as it came about. But you want the good. You got to work for the good. The good is the unicorn, the rainbow, right? The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's the good.
The sun will come out tomorrow.
The sun will come out tomorrow. The bad, what are some of the bad things that can happen?
Wow. That's a big nut to crack right there. So, I mean, in today's age, I think some of the most frustrating negatives, right? What about staffing these days, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a responsibility. That's a chore. That's a grind. And not only that, if you're looking for people that are going to take your business and set it apart from the rest, right? Then you're combing through, tens and hundreds of resumes to find people that pop out at you, right? It's easy to fill a spot with a warm body.
Right.
It's hard to fill a spot with someone that has a personality, is genuinely warm and excitable, that takes pride in what they're doing, but not takes pride in what they're doing and making sure that it fits within the way you want it done. And that's tough.
So I think one way to say that is whatever any of your employees does
Is a reflection
of yourself.
Yes.
Right. And
your persistence.
So you get a 1-star review on Yelp. I don't know about anyone else or any other business owner, but I take that personally. And I want to know why. I want to know what happened. I want to know all the stuff behind it. And I want to know what we did to fix it.
I was going to say the most important thing is all of that is great, but the most important thing you said last is what did we do to prevent that from happening to the next guest?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
How did we nip that so fast? Did we not only touch the table and fixed them before they left so they left happy, right? Or more importantly, we corrected it in so fast that the next person in line is not affected by the same lack of leadership,
Whatever it was.
whatever it is.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I would say that, out of this is there is no safety net,
No.
right? It's what you make of it is what you make of it. What you make out of it is what you make out of it. What you lose in it is what you lose in it. And sometimes you lose yourself in it.
Yeah.
And that's, you have to know all of these things if you want to own a business. And so the original question is, would you rather own a business or do you want to work for someone else? What are the benefits and deterrents to owning your own business? So Newton's law, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And I think this really expresses how owning a business is, right? You make a move over here, there's a reaction over there.
Chess.
You make this
chess.
reaction over, or you respond to that reaction, which creates another action. And, I guess I like to kind of preach this is you need to get to where you're making as many actions deliberate. Right?
Yes.
You're not just responding quickly to an emergency that's happened. You're trying to create deliberate reactions by a deliberate action that you did.
Right. Be methodical about it and have a system that works. When XYZ happens, this is the response.
Yes.
And the culture of your business, organization, team, whatever it might be, they have to buy into that.
Yes.
And you have to lead by example for them to buy into that.
And even that sometimes doesn't work. So then I'm going to go back to the freedom part of it. The lesson of freedom is, yes, you have all of that freedom. And yes, you should take it. And I'm probably one guilty of not taking advantage of that as much as I should. But I would also tell you that we've been pretty successful. And part of it is because I have all of these freedoms, but I don't misuse the freedoms, or I don't take, misuse would be the wrong term. I don't take those freedoms for granted. And so you want to be that business owner, I would ask you first, or my direction first would be, treat whatever you're doing now as if it was your own. And if, the owner, the manager, whoever makes the decision, support them.
Right.
Help them to be successful. Someone told me once, a long time ago, a very smart guy, he said, what's your job? And, I rattled off a whole bunch of blah and a whole bunch of a whole bunch of that. But what he really said is my job was to make my boss successful. And I kind of have remembered that throughout all the years, because if my boss is successful, he's going to make me successful.
That's right.
And I think that's what people forget, right? They think that these decisions that their bosses make are arbitrary decisions, but they're not. And when someone is successful and they move on to a bigger and better thing, who's the first person they think about taking? Is the person that supported them, that helped make them successful.
That's correct.
And I think that's what you got to remember as a business owner. And I don't know, what do you got to add to this? I don't know. This is a topic near and dear to me.
Oh, I can tell, and you gave some great insight. I think that what you just said, though, is sums it all up, right? If you make your boss successful, he'll bring you along, but we all work for someone and we all have people that we lead, right? So wouldn't you want the same thing out of the team that you're leading, right? If I'm a shift lead in a restaurant somewhere, right? I'm not an entry-level position anymore, and people work for me, or that shift, they work for me, right? And I think about it as in I would want them to treat me with the same respect as I'm going to treat my manager, right? Because I'm trying to get the job accomplished. I'm trying to get the team past the goal line, right? And, it's not just the boss for the boss and the owner, right? It's everybody up and down the chain of command.
How many times have we, as we've grown, have we said, okay, who are we going to give the opportunity to make this happen at this new place, right?
Right.
And I think that's one of that's a benefit to me of being an owner, is because you get to help make other people happy. You get to help them realize some of their dreams or some of their capabilities.
Yes. Hey, you've done a great job. We would agree with you that you're ready for the next step in your career. We'd like to give you an opportunity to run your own restaurant and build your own team and recreate the culture that we've been so successful here with. Let's do this.
Yep.
And it's rewarding all the way around for them, for
Everybody,
you,
yes.
for everybody.
So with that being said, I think we're down to how you get us your comments, your questions, your thoughts, your I don't want to say curse words because then I'll get
Whoa.
some. But how do you reach us and share your feelings about this?
So you can listen to our YouTube channel for Who Closed Last Night podcast. Listen to us on Spotify. Follow us on TikTok at Who Closed Last Night _ IG, which is Instagram for all you old guys and ladies. Who Closed Last Night _ Follow us on Facebook at Who Closed Last Night, and please submit your stories to Who Closed Last Night pod @gmail.com.
Okay, so now we're down to the final. Here's our latest comment that we got, and this, I don't even believe this came with from a specific episode, but it's probably someone that just listened to us and said this comment: "What makes you guys experts?" That's a good question, by the way. And so I wouldn't say that we're experts. I would say,
I'd agree with that.
Right? I would say that we've had some experiences that have given us some insight.
Yeah, I mean, almost a decade of growing a restaurant brand, and every year we've been able to add a new unit, and I think that means we're doing something right.
We're certainly attempting to do the right thing, right?
Yeah. And this isn't about us being expert. This is about sharing our lessons, our failures, and how we overcame them. And I think I believe we've done a pretty good job of prefacing that, prior to each podcast.
I would agree with you. So to blank makes who wrote this, I would just say, hey, we're not experts. We're proficient at what we do. Sometimes we're more proficient. We're more proficient than other times. These podcasts are not about following the experts. It's about real life experiences, real life questions. And we're hoping that some of what has happened to us, we might be able to share with you. And with that being said, we got one word for you and everyone else out there. And that word is aloha.